All right, today we're going to talk about something called M2B commerce. Now, if you're a manufacturer, this is way more than just another buzzword. It's a huge shift in how you can run your entire digital business. We're talking about moving from just having a website to having a true operating model. But before we dive into the solution, we've got to talk about the problem. Because let's be honest, for so many manufacturing organizations out there, the way business is done today is just full of friction and frustration. Frankly, it's a system that's stretched to its breaking point.
So let me ask you a question, and I want you to be really honest with yourself. Does this sound familiar? Are the most critical parts of your sales, your operations, are they all living in these disconnected tools that were never ever designed to do this kind of heavy lifting? If that sounds familiar, hey, you are definitely not alone. And I bet this looks pretty familiar too. You've got quotes that are just buried in these endless email chains. Contract pricing is managed in Excel sheets that are probably out of date the second you save them. And your sales reps, they're forced to act like a human API, spending all day just manually connecting one system to another. And the result? Disputes over pricing, arguments about lead times, and maybe worst of all, inaccurate orders being manually typed into the system. It's just a recipe for disaster. So if that's the mess we're in, what's the way out? Well, that brings us to the answer, a new model called M2B commerce. And what this does is it gives a name to what a lot of forward-thinking manufacturers are already trying to build.
And here is the absolute key takeaway. In an M2B world, the manufacturer, that's you own the experience, you own the product catalog, you define the business roles, and you own the data. It's a fundamental shift from just being a player in B2B to really owning and orchestrating your entire digital channel. You know, the difference here is it's like night and day. The old way was having a brochure site, basically a static online catalog. The M2B way turns that into a living, breathing operating model. So instead of pricing being offline, you're connected to your ERP in real time, honoring all those complex contract prices automatically. And instead of your sales team doing all the manual work, you're empowering your partners and your buyers with self-service. It creates a single source of truth for everybody. Now, that all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like when the rubber meets the road? So let's get practical. Let's walk through 3 common scenarios where this model just completely changes the game.
Okay, scenario 1, selling directly to your dealers. The old way, your dealer has to call inside sales and someone pulls up a spreadsheet. With M2B, the dealer just logs into a portal, sees their actual contract pricing, and with one click converts a quote into an order that pushes right into your ERP. And channel conflict? Territory rules are just coded right in, so opportunities get routed automatically. Suddenly, all those territory disputes, they just vanish.
All right, scenario 2. This one's a biggie, complex, configurable products. This is where guesswork can absolutely kill your margins. Before, a sales rep might have to call engineering just to see if a certain configuration is even possible. In the M2B world, all those rules live inside a CPQ system. Invalid options, they're not even shown. Lead times get recalculated on the fly based on the components chosen. The quote you send isn't a prayer. It's grounded in reality. And for our third scenario, let's talk about those really important high-value strategic accounts. You know, the ones with the heavily negotiated, super complex terms. Instead of treating each one like a custom one-off IT project, M2B lets you handle them through configurable policy. You set up special catalogs just for them, control who sees what with role-based access, and even track their budgets right in the portal. See the difference? You're not building a whole new website every time. You're just configuring rules. And that's really what ties all of this together. The ultimate goal isn't just some flashy storefront. It's about building a controlled, reliable interface into the heart of your business. An interface that your partners and customers can actually trust to be right every single time. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but how do we actually do it? Look, shifting to an operating model does take some discipline, but there's a clear 3-step playbook that can get you there. Step 1, health check. You've got to map out your current processes to find where things are really breaking down, and you have to tie those problems to real metrics. Step 2 is all about governance. You have to decide who owns what metric and what the rules of engagement are for all your channels. Write them down. And finally, step 3, you deliver this through a proper project management office. This makes sure you have a clear backlog, you control the scope, and your roadmap is driven by results, not by random feature requests. And speaking of results, let's talk about that scoreboard. You don't need a million charts. You just need to prove that the whole operation is getting healthier. So focus on what matters. How long does it take to get from a quote to an order? Are your dealers actually using the new tools? Is order accuracy going up? These are the numbers that tell the real story.
Now, as you start this journey, you got to be on the lookout for a few common traps. Trust me, we've seen them all. Pricing that slowly drifts away from what's in the ERP, critical knowledge that only lives in the heads of one or two experts, or a portal that only solves half the problem. It doesn't handle returns or warranties, so your buyers still have to pick up the phone anyway. These aren't just technical problems. They're signs that the rules were never clearly defined in the first place.
So, you know the playbook. You know what traps to avoid. Where do you actually begin? Well, the good news is you don't have to boil the ocean here. The best approach is to start small, prove the value, and do it fast. Here's the 4-step plan for a perfect pilot. First, select one product line and one friendly partner to work with. Second, execute a short pilot that covers the entire journey, from configuration all the way to the final invoice. Third, prove that it worked. Is the quote accurate? Did the order sync? Is the buyer happy? And step 4, once you have those results in hand, you scale it up. You've proven it works. You know, when you strip it all away, M2B really comes down to 3 incredibly simple but powerful ideas. You have to own your workflows. You have to run this on your own cloud. And you absolutely have to keep your data. When you control these 3 things, M2B stops being just another IT project and it starts becoming a real competitive advantage.
And that brings me to maybe the most important takeaway of all. This is not about completely reinventing your business from scratch. It's about getting crystal clear on just 3 things. Who's the seller? What are the rules? And where, in which system, does the single source of truth actually live?
And so that leaves us with one final question I want you to really think about. When you look at your own operations, your own sales channels, your own systems, is your business truly built on that kind of clarity? Or is it built on hope and spreadsheets